The Cryo element. It is not a video of the permafrost miner, that is. I've done it for quite a few years now, in fact, and I warned him before they totally nerf him. And to this day, it is unusable. But it is one more in the series of analyzing elements. To what extent it is good, to what extent it can go, or to what extent it can have new synergies with new or future regions. I'm not talking about melts in NATLAN or... I'm talking about Snaznaya, the Cryo nation. Of the Cryo element from the beginning, since it exists to the present and the future of day. Mein Zayaka, mein Zriotisli, Schenke, Vane is not back yet and does not have. Leave me a good like, a good ulti of Bennett, subscribe, leave a good comment for the algorithm. Thanks for enjoying and watching the video and channel. Guests and welcome to the directs and enjoy if you are eating. Remember, it doesn't cost you anything, totally free and helps the channel a lot, so like, subscribe, with bell, commentary for the algorithm. Thank you all for the support and affection too, and remember that Bendy's draws are already active, a blessing a day. To participate you just have to leave that piece of like, comment for the algorithm and subscribe, with bell, and once a day I am giving a blessing to one of you in the comment. Fix from the previous videos that you haven't seen yet. So go watch the videos. Today, we're going to give a review of the Cryo element, and really today. And with a view to the future, how much it may be worth. Well, you all know. The context that to this day is very generally out of the goal is not being played. It has two main variants which are permafrost and inverse melts. We'll talk, because that has to do with Pyro, and NATLAN is the nation of Pyro. To make a remission that is a reminder of everything that has happened so far, he raised. During the beginning of the game from 1.2, when Ganyu arrived in Spin to Dragon. I know from then on the Morgana team came out that was with Diona with Bendy, because there was no Kazuha until 1.6 and with Mona, and was one of the strongest and most played permafrost of the game until the 1.6 that came out Kazuha, and was played Kazuha instead of Bendy in the two after. Of the 1.6 Inazuma that Ayaka came out, and there we had the Morgana, it was no longer Morgana, it was the permafrost. From Ayaka, Mona, Kazuha, and here he played last Diona for the 20 seconds of rotation, the shield, Cryo and healing. Then already in the future, the hyper-offensive began to play, and in the 2.3, if I remember correctly, when he went out in Kanomiya, came also Shenhe, and from there he played hyper-offensive. That was one of the teams, not to say at the time. Rotation against enemies that could be frozen, who were Shenhe, Ayaka, Kazuha, Mona, Prototype or Anvar, the hyper-offensive permafrost of all life you know. There are more variants. Kokomi also came in at 2.1 and was played as Shenhe, Kazuha, Kokomi, Ayaka, and more variants. And I mentioned Orifika the Morgana 15, that in 1.4, when Rosaria came out in the rerun of Tartaglia. For at that time it was also possible to arm the Morgana 15, that was another hyper-offensive of Mona. Anvar was Ganyu, Kazuha, Rosaria, and Mona Anvar. Another hyper-offensive before Ayaka. That's the story. During Inazuma, the permafrost was apotheosic. It was hegemonic. Played Raid National in permafrost. Everyone played their teams and everyone. He played Ayaka, and if he did not have Ayaka, he played Ganyu. He could also play Ganyu instead of Shenhe, who didn't have Shenhe as Ayaka's sub-DPs. And basically all Inazuma was that goal. Pointless Abyss near the end of Inazuma put us in some room enemies of those who did not. Can be frozen, mainly world bosses, until we reach Sumeru. In Sumeron, the Dendro element came out, which you know if I spoke in Dendro's video, that's over here. You like the Dendro element very much, so thank you very much, and here disclaimer. The next item you want me to bring in an in-depth analysis. Leave me in the comments and vote, because this analysis of the Cryo element has been because you have voted, and it has been the most voted. That will be here, the test on screen, the element of the video of the Dendro. I put in the video of the Dendro. In the comments, tell me what is the element that the most voted was the Cryo, which is this one we are here. Now, we are going on. Remember to vote in the comments. Suppose what you want to analyze. Unleash the Pyro element because it is Pyro element. The one that has voted the most will be the next video I make. The channel is very interactive. Well, the Cryo so far perfect. In Sumeru, They brought us the Dendro and encouraged us to play Hyper Bloom, a Grave Bloom, and then already. The Burn and the Crepita, which in this case in NATLAN are wanting ET. Vaporizing over Burn, etc. Then there, at that very moment, they began to fill the abysses of continuous rooms where you couldn't play Permafrost until you came to re-rank characters. Permafrost could be used. There they did put you in pits to play Permafrost. And of course, there came the first great nerf to the Permafrost from Sumeru 2 years ago. There's a very viral video about it on the channel. The nerf al Permafrost has continued to comment and has continued to have videos about from a few months ago, from a year ago, but really the real nerf came in Sumeru. And everything that has passed continuously has not changed anything, nor had anything to do with it. It has already remained permanent. That nerve that you all know is that in the Abyss, they put us a lot of rooms and bosses. Of enemies who cannot freeze and enter with a Permafrost is very complicated. Not impossible, but complicated and requires very high ceilings that people, let's say, newer may not arrive. So, history of the Permafrost so far. Very strong that is played in almost any core, Novelette, Furina, Kazuha. Charlotte was played. Well, I also have Permafrost there, where I had Charlotte who cures a lot and activates. Alright, Furina's faces. But it was never really considered Permafrost core. Of the day already after the departure of Shilonen has its roof of Shilonen, Kazuha, Novelette, Furina, and what about the Permafrost? What's important? And I didn't want to talk about Permafrost in this video. Well, in Fontaine's 4.1 came Grizzly and Grizzly enabled, say, testing. The method and standard system that uses hoyovers to test and error and use players as beta tester to be able to optimize what will bring the melt reaction to the future. When he left, he was able to play some team of Grizzly, Bennett, Nahida, Xiangling to play. Melted pure Grizzly, Xiangling, Shenhe, Bennett instead of Nahida to melt, about Burn. Some variant of Kazuha, Grizzly, Xiangling, Bennett also for Burn. Pura, that is, for pure melts without melting on the Burn. Later, Emily came out. In the 4.8 before NATLAN is also that it opens of Burn and today the best in slot of Grizzly. It's Grizzly Emily who eliminates the damage from burning, i.e. Grizzly doesn't lose his life anymore. All the time apart from his passive for the damage of burn, Xianglin Bennett, and who? You know if in the future Bennett Mavuaka Emily Grizzly and I leave it here, said because it is surely a very strong type of melt over burn. And besides it seems that there is a character going to come out that is called Sitlali, apart from the Archon Pyro that surely have a lot of relationship because Sitlali is Grizzly. It's said to be, as I said in other old videos, a kind of Lila. 5 stars that can strike with Grizzly outside the field and also give you a defensive contribution. Is said to put a shield and such, but it is said that Grizzly's application will be superior to what makes Lila to be able to vaporize or melt mainly, or play some chore with some chore. Carry Pyro, where some melt is made off the field over some Pyro burn Dendro. You know, but it's said that there's going to be more synergy and it's going to bring us back. More use of this forgotten reaction, and especially remember that after NATLAN comes Esnesnaya, which is the nation of the Cryo. All that refers to NATLAN and the melted. I have commented in other videos, I have intended to summarize it here so that you don't say Philip. This you've already said, that's why for new ones you haven't seen other videos where I explain this. You can basically tell that NATLAN the Pyro wants to revive Pyro's reactions that don't are widely used, as you see mainly melts over burn. The burns with Dendro and the Crepitar, if you notice there is a lot of synergy with this. Moalani, vaporizing on the burn. Emilio, avoiding burn in order to melt. Kinich playing that burn more Crepitar and Sitlali is being Cryo with what I'm sure. This is NATLAN's summary. But here comes the strong. Esnesnaya comes the nation of the Cryo. In my opinion, the first thing I will tell you is that forget about Ayaka. It's quite possible that Ayaka is not Archonting unlike Raiden. Don't pretend like Carrie rescue her, but Ayaka surely what happens is that it's power pricked by another carry Cryo, which is not Grizzly, quiet, and will come out some carry Cryo who does better than Ayaka, the same but in permafrost, just like Kinnich, the same as Tignarioto, Aizan but better from Cone, and surely bring some kind of support in 2 ways. Support number 1, remember that the Cryo is always related to critical probability and critical damage. The Cryo is the 5-star characters that scale the most with critical damage. They are currently from the element Cryo, Urizli, Ayaka, Ula, Ganyu, and so on. The Winter Nomada set is likely to go Rosaria buffer the probability of the team. The Cryo consonants gives you 15% probability to the team, and there are a lot of synergies of characters. Cryo, as I say, with critical probability and critical damage. So in Esnesnaya, surely the improvement of Cryo, the Cryo Arconte and others is related to giving you probability, criticism and critical damage to the whole team, and aside, this is speculation of mine, if you would. Somehow we revive the permafrost in Esnesnaya, which people love and always played. Capable bring a support that has some kind of condition in their skills that says something like, enemies that can normally be frozen if they can freeze. You can replay all the permafrost teams against all the amazing variety of enemies that bring us, because if I do not see impossible totally to enable the permafrost since today. Today, there are so many bosses of the world that they are the ones that then enter the abyss, and those bosses technically, base form, are impossible to freeze by the programming of the bosses. The big bosses are immune to CC, and permafrost is a CC, is a form of mass control, a crowd control that is called in video games, which is totally immune in programming world bosses. So surely they bring something from the enemies they're going to be able to freeze. No, I don't want to give hope to people who really somehow I can get to have them with ancient characters. First, surely the power creep. Surely. They got a card that is very good for melts and for permafrost and cryo supports, perhaps a Siangling Cryo that outside the field can melt with Cryo, and the way to revive and stabilize the Cryo element by allowing some kind of support to give us a skill. I think something like this is going to happen. So this is the review of the Cryo element since the time of the call. Use they want to awaken, especially with melts and melts over burn. That are 2 different things, and that surely comes with Mavuika and Sitalali. Something related with this and more missing characters in NATLAN Bite. And a little more, especially the future. Then, specifically the future part is speculative. It's just personal conclusions I can wrong and then be otherwise, but yes, or yes, it is Nisnaya, it is the Cryo nation, so somehow they'll want to revive Cryo in that nation, that's for sure. I hope you enjoyed it very much. Thank you for watching this video. Remember to leave in the comments the next item and vote it to bring you the next item you prefer. Unanalyzed in depth before 5.2, and thanks for all the affection, for the support, likes, subscriptions. I recently shared in networks that the channel last month before the video, Bendy Draws, got to 500,000 likes in a month. I hope to get to 1,000,000 likes. Now that we're with the draws, you're obviously more likes to participate for a bendy. So don't forget and thank you. And little more, you take care of yourself, have a very good day, don't be. And tiny little girls and little boy.